far as unanimous votes go, how about I just propose unanimously? Does anyone oppose the appointment of Caitlin for the duration of this meeting? Great. If not, then by unanimous consent, Caitlin is secretary for the duration of this meeting. So the order's been called. As far as roll call goes, I believe the sheet is going around.
Yes, right.
Yeah? Okay, great. So this takes me to excusals. We've got quite a few that I'm going to go through today. And bear with me while I read them out. So starting off with Fatty, one of the new counselors, writes, Hi Matt, unfortunately I will finally not be able to attend tonight's meeting. Tomorrow's final is too important. Sincerely, Fatty. Other new counselor, Tamer, writes, Hi Matt, I won't be able to attend tonight because of exams. If I had known earlier, I would have adjusted my studying accordingly. Hope that's okay. Now this is in response to the fact that new counselors received the call out for this meeting later than regular counselors. Vicky writes that for exam and, well, she has a long list of her exam schedule, and writes, moreover, health issues in my immediate family delayed my study time for finals, and I request excusal. Jeremy Tessier writes, Matt, I will not be attending tonight's council meeting tonight as I have a term project due tomorrow morning and another the following day. For these reasons, I ask my absence be excused by council. Emma writes, unfortunately, I must send my regrets as I will be unable to attend the meeting this evening as I am presently outside of the city. Hopefully, council can excuse my absence. Caroline writes, hey Matt, I finished work at 7 tonight, and with the snow, I don't think I'll make it on time. I would really appreciate it if you could please excuse my absence. Sorry for the inconvenience, Caroline. Michael writes, I will unfortunately have to be absent due to an exam. Could you please pass along my regrets to council and ask to kindly excuse my absence? Thank you, Michael. Other Jeremy Blinkhorn writes, just letting you know that I need to send regrets for the next council meeting. I'm going to a funeral on Friday and I need to be back in BC before Wednesday. Regards, Jeremy. Emily writes, hi Matt, wishing you the best. I'm unable to attend council this evening due to family issues. Please ask council for my forgiveness and wish the new folks my welcoming best. Thank you for your time and understanding. All the best, Emily. And as far as executives go, Charles writes, hi Matt, I'm sending this email to notify you that I will not be present at tonight's council meeting. I'm also asking council for excusal. I'm quite certain that I've caught the flu, this bug, which has been going around and a few people who I have been in close contact with have recently become sick. Should council have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I will be following the meeting via Facebook and try to find a live stream if CUTV attends the meeting. Anthony writes, hello, I would like to give my regrets for missing tonight's council meeting and ask that I be excused. Unfortunately, tonight's council is taking place at the same time as an important Canton 2015 meeting. Canton 2015 is the principal student hub working around austerity in regions across Quebec. Given that students voted in favor of the CSU being opposed to cuts to the public sector in the last referendum, I believe attending this meeting is essential to fulfilling my mandate as VP External and beginning work on building alliances around this issue. Tonight's Canton 2015 meeting will likely be the last before the winter semester and is an important forum for a wide-range discussion about mobilization around cuts to the public sector and education. I plan on giving a presentation around how student associations can work in solidarity with First Nations, and I would include a climate change narrative within the discourse around solutions to public sector cuts. Over the weekend, I was a student representative at a meeting with several First Nations and will be relaying information gathered there to other student associations tonight. For these reasons, ask that I be excused from tonight's meeting. Regards, Anthony. And it was just brought to my attention that Jenna on the Facebook group wrote, hey everyone, I would like to send my apologies because I'm going to be very late for council this evening. My bus left at 5:35 and still has not reached the metro, but I will try to make it as soon as I can, which is not actually a request for excusal per se. So you may well make it on time. So these are quite a few excusals. Does anyone have any issue with any of the counselors that have provided excusals? I would suggest maybe trying to do one vote for counselors and then one vote for executives. So does anyone have any issues with the counselors? Okay, if not, then by, sorry, Jarm's no, okay. Okay, then by unanimous vote then the counselors can be excused. Now regarding the two executives, that's Charles and Anthony, does anyone have any issue with their demands for excusals? Okay, great. So similarly, by unanimous consent, you can excuse them for tonight's meeting as well. Yeah?
While we're on the point of excuses, Heather and
both need to, are I guess asking for excusals for handing in the reports late, the council reports, executive reports to council.
Okay, sorry, did you say Heather and?
And Ben.
Oh, okay.
And I guess on Ben's, I guess Heather, you could talk about it. And then for Ben, he's going to be coming in late, but he could also speak to it. But in brief, it's all the hype around the BDS motion. Mass media has been like contacting him pretty regularly, so
Okay.
that's why he handed it in late. That was his. And you could, I guess, ask him when he comes in for more details.
Okay, so as I understand it, this is a request for an excusal for the late documents. There could still be a chance to discuss with him about the documents later on in the meeting.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
just for an excusal for handing in the documents late.
Okay, that's great. So in that case, does anyone have any objection to excusing the late submission of these documents? Heather, is there anything you'd like to add before that?
No, I was just very ill, that's all.
Okay.
And yeah, there's a standing regulation that states that if they're handed in late, then we should have formal excuses.
Yeah, absolutely. So does anyone have any problems with those excusals of handing in of late documents? That's per the standing regulations. Okay, then we can say them by unanimous consent, then those are excused as well. Thanks, Gabe. John? Yeah?
Just like a point quickly to council. I think today is like in a special day because there's lots of snow and it's finals and stuff, but I think we need to stop excusing people all the time. Like, this is actually something that's like supposed to be taken very strictly, and like people are supposed to come, and if they can't come, that's their fault. And then if they miss 3 times, they're done. If this is like, we're like council members who have to be present, and like every single time we have excused people for school or things like that, and I think that like that has to stop. Just throwing it out there. I just wanted to tell everyone. That's it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it actually is in the standing regulations that the excuses around classroom attendance and exams are not legitimate as per the standing regulations.
No.
So that does contextualize it, so thank you. Moving along then, so point 3, we're at approval of the agenda. Are there any modifications proposed for the agenda? Sure, I've got Jess and then Gabe.
I'd like to bring under returning business Loyola Greenhouse. And I don't know if I have to mention it now, but it's going to be a closed session. Just 'cause
Okay.
we had closed session the first time.
Okay. So is there anywhere on the agenda you would want that? So if it's returning business, then yeah, I imagine it would be the only point under returning business.
Yep.
So with the greenhouse closed session. Okay, Gabe?
I'd like to add the point judicial board to appointments, but I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be explicitly added. But I don't know if the person actually
Yeah,
came.
they're in the back.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, she's
All right.
over there.
I just came late. Sorry.
Sure, no, I can add judicial board
Yeah,
appointments.
2 appointments, and then I'd also like to move 9A, welcome new counselors, and move it to 10B. Mostly because Ben is coming late and he wanted to make the welcome to the new counselors.
Okay.
So move 9A to 10B.
Okay,
As well as on eliminate the point 9E by elections. And the reasoning being that we're waiting for the CEO report regardless, and if people have like questions and stuff to talk about it, we could just do it in the question period. There's no like actual motion attached to that, so eliminate 9E and
Okay.
replace 9E with mid-mandate report as like a point.
Mandate report. Okay, thank you. Okay. Is there anything else? There's something to be pulled from the consent agenda or something to be added to the agenda? No? Great, okay. If there's no further changes, then we can vote. All those in favor of approving the agenda? Or if somebody needed recap, I'll be sending it out by the Facebook group anyhow. Okay, great. So those in favor, please raise your placards. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, great, that carries. I'll be trying to send this out probably during the appointments point. This takes us to point 4, the consent agenda. Oh,
So, quick question: do the new councilors have placards?
that's a very good question. Do the new councils have placards? I think Gabe is on this.
Sweet. I made all the new placards, and I made yours, and it's here somewhere. I swear to God. Sorry. But I don't know where it is. So if anyone can like see if there's a placard about double, I was thinking of checking it once we get the food. We could like look around for it.
Well, Jason, do you know where you got yours?
I looked and it was there.
Yeah.
Jess gave it to me.
You didn't even look.
I saw the placard and I was thankful for
We
it.
looked, we looked through them again, but if you want to, but we didn't find it. So
Yeah.
it's fine.
So I just don't know where exactly it is. But
Sorry about that.
I'm just gonna check my bag for now.
Thanks, Paul. Okay, so we're now on the point of consent agenda. Nobody's pulled anything from it. So those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please raise your placards. Those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, great, that passes. So for the point chairperson's reports, there's nothing on my part to report per se. I don't have anything formal for you guys. Nor are there any presentations from guest speakers, which takes us straight to appointments, specifically the Judicial Board. So Gabe, if you're ready.
For appointments.
Yeah.
So I guess we have to move to go into closed session for judicial board appointments. And, yeah.
Yeah. Chloe, seconded Lucy. Those in favor of going into closed session, please raise your placards. Those opposed? Abstentions? Okay, great, that carries. So we're going to go into closed session for the duration of the point. Those in favor of ratifying the motions passed during closed session, please raise your placards. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, good, those are ratified. And Gabe, I think you have something that you want to add.
I think it's a meeting of the whole or suspend Robert's rules. I'm not sure the exact terminology. To be able to move something up in the agenda. Essentially, we missed the appointments point because it was. Do I do the motion first and then I'll explain, or?
Yeah, well, why don't you,
I'll move
make
to
a motion
suspend.
and then
Yeah.
someone will second and then you can explain.
I'll move to suspend Robert's rules.
Okay, is there a seconder? And to be honest, I'm not sure if this is the sort of procedure for this, whether this is going to come. I think it'd be important for you to discuss it anyhow. So before we take a vote, why don't you go ahead and elaborate?
It was a point that passed, point 7 appointments. We did the judicial board appointments, but there's 2 committees, Loyola committee and appointments committee, that are missing seats. So we have to, through in appointments, the point of appointments, see if anyone here, especially the new councilors, want to fill up the seats that are missing in the committees and go through that process. But because we were in closed session, we just stayed into closed session for the greenhouse and the hojos, so not to like move in and move out and then go back into closed session. So I wanted to, so yeah, I'm not sure if suspending Robert's rules is the appropriate way of adding a point to the agenda to talk about appointments. I think it is.
Yeah, that would be the appropriate way.
Okay. So,
So as a motion then to suspend Robert's rules, is there a seconder? Seconded Ben. Okay, those in favor of suspending Robert's rules? Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, great. The rules are now suspended in order to add a point to the agenda. So this would also require a motion.
yeah, so I guess I motion to add appointments as a point in the agenda in new business substantive point C, which is the next
well,
point.
technically B because of the
B?
numbering. Yeah.
Okay.
Of lettering. Okay, great. So there is a motion then. Is there a seconder for the motion to add appointments committee? Okay, Lucy. Those in favor of adding the appointments committee to the new business substantive as the point after Hojo, which is now point B. Those opposed? Abstentions? Okay, great, that carries. So we're able to discuss this point now, but first we want to reinstate Robert's Rules of Order. Yeah.
I move to reinstate Robert's rules of order.
Great, okay. Seconded Marcus. Those in favor of reinstating Robert's Rules? Okay, opposed? And abstentions? Great. Okay. Well, there's no further discussion on that then. That brings us to the next point on the agenda. Paul?
Can you after the meeting update the agenda and send it off? Send it?
Yeah, definitely.
Just
Sure.
Thanks so much.
Okay. So the point now is point C. Point B. Appointments committee. Go ahead. David.
So there's 2 committees that are not filled. The first one is Appointments Committee, and the second one is Loyola Committee. So I am the chair of both of those committees, so I guess I could just give a description of each one in order, and then if anybody wants to appoint themselves to those committees, they can do so. And I guess Matt will facilitate the process of appointments and explain it after. So the first one being Appointments Committee. It's a committee where any appointments that the CSU make, besides Secretary, Chair, and Judicial Board, go through the Appointments Committee. So students that want to sit on different committees as a student at large apply to Appointments Committee, and then we vet them through interview process and then recommend the candidate to council at the next meeting. So those are student at large positions on council, as well as senator positions and board of governor positions, and I'm sure I'm missing some. So if there's a specific ad hoc committees that get created within the university, it also falls under our jurisdiction to appoint these people. So that's the role of Appointments Committee in a nutshell. We meet maybe twice a month, 3 times a month sometimes. Maybe people at Appointments Committee that are here can elaborate on things that I'm missing. I was like, hey, John. And we basically send out call outs to the student at large population for the appointment process, and then they apply. We vet through their CVs and their cover letters, and then do an interview process with them if we deem them to be sort of like a qualified candidate, and then recommend the person to council. That's essentially the role of Appointments Committee. And I guess I'll talk about Loyola next. Do you want me to talk about it right now, or just do the appointments and then go back?
I think if we talk about both first, it will give folks a chance to see what they might want to participate in.
Cool, that works. So Loyola Committee is also a regular standing committee of council. I could actually read the Loyola Committee what we're supposed to be doing based on our standing regulations. So Loyola Committee is responsible for advising the CSU on how best to serve students at Loyola. It will make reports and recommendations to council regarding all CSU events, activities, and projects at Loyola. In addition, the committee is responsible for ensuring more food options and Loyola events. So that's the standing regulations around Loyola Committee. Right now we're missing 1 member, and we do a whole bunch of really interesting stuff as well. People from within Loyola Committee can elaborate on stuff that I miss. Up and coming next semester, there's a continual supporting of the Hive project that we started up this semester. There's going to be the new office moves, so the Loyola office will be moving from location, so that's something that we're going to have to be dealing with. As well, there's a couple of events we have planned for the winter semester that could be of interest if you want to help organize those. So that's in a nutshell the Loyola Committee. And if anyone has any questions on the Appointments Committee or Loyola Committee, they could feel free to ask.
Okay, so maybe how we can proceed is have 2 different topics, the first one being the Appointments Committee. So we can entertain questions or see if anyone would like to motivate or nominate anybody for those committees. Yeah, Jenna.
Can I nominate Jason for Appointments Committee?
Sure. Jason, do you accept?
Yep.
Okay, great. There's no further discussion? Yeah. Okay, well, we can proceed to a vote then. Those in favor of appointing Jason to the Appointments Committee, please vote.
Can I vote?
Opposed? And abstentions?
I'm learning.
Okay, well, that carries. Yeah.
Was he not supposed to motivate, even if he's the only person? Board of voter, I guess.
Yeah, that's the point of order. It's true. There should have been a motivation. However, the vote has been conducted. Does anyone wish to reconsider in order for Jason to motivate, or would you like to hear Jason's motivation regardless of the vote?
Sorry, point of information, what's the motivate?
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry. This is new terrain, but motivation is just why you would choose to accept this nomination, what you think you might bring to this particular committee, or what you think you might gain from it.
Okay.
Would you like to elaborate on that?
I'd be pleased. Of the two committees, this is one that interests me the most. Personally, I think it would be a great way for me to be involved and contribute to this council. I believe proper, transparent decisions and improvement in our appointment process is always very important for the student body, and I think it would be my best way to contribute.
Great, thank you very much. So sorry, Gabe, does that do it for appointments committee? How many seats were there?
There was only one seat.
Okay,
So yeah,
that's
that
been
fills
filled.
it up.
Great, so then we can move on to the point for Loyola committee then. We can entertain questions or nominations. Right.
I nominate the new counselor over there. I do not know your name.
Would you like to just present yourself? Okay. Maddie? And do you accept?
I'm not sure. I don't think I'm familiar enough with any of these to accept.
Okay, that's fair. I need to apologize. Gabe?
As a point of clarification, if it doesn't get filled up today, it's okay. Like, there's still time. Like, this will just come up at every council meeting, and then if people feel at that point that they want to join the committee, then it's fine. So there shouldn't be like a pressure to like fill up all the seats.
Who left?
Jenna.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, well, yeah, as Gabe just mentioned, we don't have to make a decision now. If there are no nominations, then we can move on to the next point, which is point 9C, not again. And Ben, was this your point?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I have a rather large motion that I will send to you. I guess I'll read it first so that we can, let me know if I'm not talking loud enough too. It's pretty long, and then I'll send it to you so that people can discuss after having heard it. But I'll start, and I apologize for not giving it sooner.
Really quick though, when you say send, you mean to the Facebook group or to?
Yeah, I can put it on the Facebook group if that's easier.
Okay, yeah, maybe easier.
Okay. So it's whereas Lorgan has been, or whereas a fee has been collected for Lorgan during the 2011 and 2012 years while dormant as an organization. Whereas Lorgan currently has $161,000 collected on its behalf in an internal account of the university. Whereas ongoing conversations between the CSU, the Dean of Students Office, and leadership of Lorgan has had all three parties conclude that Lorgan is capable of functioning up to acceptable standards for a student fee levy group at this point. Whereas Lorgan intends on becoming fully reactivated as of January 2015. Whereas the executive, or rather, whereas the leadership of Lorgan commits to produce a minimum of one publication per semester, and whereas Lorgan has enough funds available to it to operate successfully until 2017 with the funds that have already been collected, and so collecting additional funds between January 2015 and January 2017 would be excessive. Be it resolved that Lorgan uses the funds of $161,000 for the period of January 2015 to January 2017, or rather be it resolved that the CSU allows Lorgan to use the funds. Be it further resolved that the CSU calls on the Board of Governors of Concordia University, effective January 2017, to reactivate the fee for Lorgan that has been agreed upon by students through their original fee levy referendum question, assuming that they are still active at the time and are publishing at least once per semester as confirmed by the CSU.
Great.
Yeah.
Motion, is there a seconder? Okay,
So I'll just motivate.
yeah.
Basically, this group, so last year, Katrina was working with the Dean of Students Office. She was the VP of Student Life last year, to figure out kind of the plan for this fee levy, because there's no policy that the university has about fee levies that kind of just stop existing. So they kept on collecting money until they got to $161,000. And there were a bunch of negotiations back and forth, and there were different suggestions that were made about what we could do with this money. Ultimately, if it wasn't going to go back to Lorgan, it seemed as though we would have to have a referendum question asking students for permission to use it in X way or Y way, or whatever way we would recommend, so that students who, I mean, essentially it's money that was collected for a specific purpose, so if we're going to use it for something else, it's important to run a referendum question asking for permission. basically a new group of students has decided to take up the constitution and mandate of Lorgan. Lorgan itself is a francophone publication at Concordia. We have, I think it's about 25% of the students identify as francophones, so there's a pretty large population here of francophones. So it's not that surprising that there would be a publication at some point, but there isn't one now. So basically there's a group that's been pretty active and that's been talking with Kate quite a bit. So maybe Kate, you want to follow up and fill in the blanks for me after to reactivate the club. It's obviously a really great opportunity for people that are involved in this sort of a thing. One of the people that's taken a leadership position in this is an alumni who's got a background in this area, and another one is an undergraduate student who used to do a lot of work with the link, and there are others as well. But basically, yeah, so this motion is just to allow them to reactivate the French publication. The last motion says that we're moving to have to ask the Board of Governors to reactivate their fee levy in 2017. I mean, of course, a lot could change between this time and then, so if they no longer are dormant, if they become dormant once more, rather, I'm sure that the Dean of Students, which will probably act as institutional memory for something like this, because it's a 2-year question. Also, the Board of Governors will act as institutional memory. The Dean of Students will probably, not allow us, to be honest, to continue to levy this fee if there is no organization called Lorgan any longer. So I think we're safe in that regard. It's also important to point out that $161,000 is more than enough money for them to function for 2 years. So it would really be excessive to give them a fee levy on top of that. Plus their fee levy is only, is it 6 cents? Or Kate, is it 7 cents? I think it's in here. So it's 6 or 7 cents. It's very small. So 161,000 is well over what they need. However, all 3 parties have agreed to this arrangement. They're very well aware that after this period, they will not have that much money to work with, and so they shouldn't be expecting to budget for themselves for the long term. With expecting this much money. So yeah, but I mean, it's possible. Anyways, actually, I'll leave it at that. Yeah. Is there anything else, Kate? Or?
The only thing, I don't know if it was mentioned, but that during the time that they're using the funds that was accumulated while they were inactive, they're not collecting fee levy at the same time. So their fee levy is suspended until January 2017, where they will start again to collect fee levy.
Good, thanks. Marcus, go ahead.
Could you post that ASAP?
Yes.
Sorry. Cool, thanks. That's it.
I'm going to post it, but I'm going to edit it afterwards. I edited it while I said it, but you can get the gist of it in the post now. It's in the group.
Just a point of information, multiple accounts have been added to the Facebook group so they can receive all the updated stuff.
They haven't been into the Facebook group, no.
That's where that's all going at, it might be.
I believe you can actually, it's just that you haven't been added to it yet, sorry. I can find it in the group.
Yes. Yes?
Yeah.
It's a fairly hefty motion, so if you'll find a chance to post, we'll post.
Sorry, the grammar's also pretty bad right now.
There it is. Facebook is up here.
I've done a few edits there to the one. It's not the same one that I said out loud, but it's almost identical with a slightly better grammar. Yeah, I know. The first line was pretty atrocious, whereas the fee, anyways. We could probably get rid of the last part of it, and it would make no tangible difference, although the Board of Governors might appreciate having some kind of indicator as to what our desires are. Originally, it seemed as though this would be something that I would take care of with Kate without coming to the board. I guess we don't really have regulations about this kind of situation, but I felt uncomfortable doing it without going to the board because it is dealing with a large amount of money. But like I said, this is something that's been being developed for since last year with Katrina. So.
Just putting it out there that there might be possible amendments in regards to the Board of Governors. Thanks. Well, if there are no questions, if there's no further discussion, then we can proceed to a vote. Does anyone want the motion reread who doesn't have access to Facebook before we proceed to a vote? I'll just send it to her. Okay, if there's no discussion, no questions, then all those in favor of the motion, please raise your placards. Those opposed? Abstentions? Okay, that carries.
Please.
Thanks. So any further discussion on the point for Lauriane? If not, we can proceed to the next point, new fee levies. Ben, I think you submitted this one too?
Yes. Is there any way we could table it until a little bit later?
You can definitely propose it, sure.
Your point after that too.
I know. Sorry, it's a little bit of a crazy day.
What's it?
No, basically, hold on, I just want to double check something quickly. So I talked about this already, about what needed to happen already in the Facebook group. And I approached policy committee as well, but we weren't able to come to kind of any meaningful decision within the time frame that we had, which was very little. Basically, the incorporation paperwork of Model UN was not prepared on time for the board meeting that it needed to be prepared for in order for them to receive their fee levy for next semester. So they presented me with some paperwork. It's their request for incorporation, so they're well underway. So I had to kind of make a decision before a council meeting could convene to make a decision on the issue, because literally I had to do it for the board meeting that I just came from with the Board of Governors. And had I not done it there, then they would not be able to have access to the fee levy at this point. So I had to make it a choice. They were voted in by our students, but we have regulations that say, also they need to have incorporation paperwork before we bring it to the Board of Governors. So we're kind of stuck between two opposing mandates right there, one of them which was ratified by students and the other one which was just decided by ourselves. But kind of that holds as much legitimacy as, not really, as a bylaw, because the regulations are upheld by the bylaws. So I had to make a choice, and it seemed reasonable to just decree notwithstanding that one standing regulation which says that we have to have the incorporation paperwork in before we bring it to the board under a certain with certain kind of qualifications and restrictions on Model UN, because I think it's not responsible of us to just give a fee levy to a group that's not incorporated at all. There were arguments that were presented to me as though they were themselves exempt from this rule because they were a club, which means that somehow that rule didn't apply, which I disagreed with. So anyways, I was approached by essentially, their representative unofficially, and they were essentially they tried to convince me that we had to do it. However, I don't think that we had to, but I think it's the right thing was to do it. So I have a presidential decree that I had to make, but I talked for a long time, so I probably should have presented it first, but I'm just going to read it out. So the presidential decree is just notwithstanding Actually, we're kind of in a weird spot too, so maybe people don't want to, we don't technically need to accept it today, because I just did it today. So we could accept it at the next meeting, but honestly, we may as well get it out of the way. 1 second, my computer's all weird. So the presidential decree is notwithstanding Standing Regulation 244. The following motion has been decreed by the President. Be it resolved that the funds collected on behalf of ConMun will be administered by the CSU until such time that proof of incorporation can be provided to the CSU by ConMun, and until this time they shall continue to operate as though they were a club, a CSU club, but with access to the fee levy, which will be collected in their name. So that's the motion that I would like to present, but I've spoken to it already. But I think that we're doing our due diligence and we're being respectful of student leadership that kind of organized to get this fee levy going. So I really think that this is the best course of action. So if somebody could maybe move what I just said, I will second it.
Okay, well, I mean, you've presented the motion to ratify presidential decree, I think, so we can have a seconder for that. Lucy, is there any discussion that we entertain before the ratification of the presidential decree? Any questions you might have for Ben or any comments? Okay, if not, so then we can just proceed to a vote. So those in favor of ratifying the presidential decree, please raise your placards. And opposed? Abstentions? Okay, well, that's carried. Any further discussion on the new fee levies? If not, then we can proceed to the mid-mandate report. Ben, I'm sorry to put you on the spot again, but this one is yours too.
No, that's great. I would like to, I move to postpone the submission of to move the deadline for submission of the mid-mandate report to the second meeting of January rather than the first meeting of January. That's it.
Okay, and I believe this would be in convention and standing regulation as well?
I am about to check which one we have to notwithstand this. Actually, Heather, did you write it down?
Yeah.
Okay. Just a moment. We'll notwithstand that as well. I'm not sure actually if we do need to notwithstand it. Sorry, no, now that I recall, the regulation itself says it can be, well, the deadline would be, I mean, the only reason why we have to make the deadline is so that the executive doesn't lose $350, which I'm not even sure is legal anyways, but that's besides the point. So for exceptional reasons, we can just, we no longer have to waive that fee, and we can just accept that we're going to submit it the second meeting of January. So it doesn't, because that's, for all intents and purposes, the only reason that we need to move the deadline is so that we don't have to lose $350. So,
okay.
But can I?
Did you get a hold of it at all? No? Sorry, Ben, were you gonna add something?
I just want to motivate you, yeah. For it, basically.
Has there been a second or first for motivate? Gary? Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah. So. A number of things, like we didn't, the by-elections became necessary after much later than honestly I didn't anticipate that we would actually have by-elections. So that pushes back quite a bit. The BDS question is also kind of creating complications that in terms of additional workload and things like that because of a lot of the attention that's been placed on the union. As well as the quality of the report itself will just be much better if we postpone it, because essentially the documents that we have to have prepared for the mid-mandate report in order for it to be in by the first meeting in January, which would have to be submitted about 3 days after the break. So, I mean, I don't really intend on asking or expecting the executive to work on this over the break. We will be working on various activities, but ideally, it will be, you know, not something overly tedious like this. It will be something else that we can work on. Ultimately, it doesn't make a huge difference if it happens the first meeting or the second meeting. We have 2 meetings in January, so it either comes out on the, I believe it's the 14th is the first meeting, or it comes out around the 28th. So essentially, this is just coming from us as a recommendation because it would make the report much better. And anyways, there are a lot of details that we may not be able to have access to by that time anyways, so it might actually be a necessity either way. Ultimately, in my opinion, it is a necessity, so that's why I'm bringing it.
Just to intervene real quick, I think I have the standing regulation. It's 401, and it states that the executives must submit a joint written mid-mandate report to council no later than the first January regular meeting. That sounds like fairly clear-cut language to me, which sounds as though it would be changing a standing regulation. So I invite somebody to consider that and maybe include an amendment to include a notwithstanding, just because to me, anyways, the language sounds fairly clear-cut. Terry.
I move to amend the motion to include a notwithstanding.
Seconder then? Adam?
I second, but the standing regulation is 381. It's the newest ones have reclassified it.
Oh, is that so? Okay, great.
Yeah.
The newest
you.
ones
I
are
think
from the
so.
last meeting.
Okay, I've got the old ones.
It's okay.
And is there anyone who has an opposition to that, or can that be amended friendly? Okay, great. All that really does is change the voting percentage. Is there any discussion on this? Any questions anyone might have? Terry?
It's not a question, but I guess it's just to clarify since there are new councillors here. When you use the notwithstanding clause, you're saying that you'd like to omit the application of certain regulations that we have to abide by. So in order for the board to use a notwithstanding clause, it requires 2/3 majority vote.
Thanks for that. I could have mentioned that.
Stealing it done.
Next time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul?
Yeah, I guess I'm pretty opposed to this for multiple reasons. One of them is I don't like extending deadlines for people that were pretty clear cut. The second one is I'm scared it'll create some sort of precedence that deadlines can be pushed forward if unexpected events come up at the CSU, but unexpected events come up at the CSU every year. So, I don't know, it's just my opinion, and I've kind of been pretty strict on this from the get-go. Like, it's a deadline that's been put forward for a while, like, yeah.
Okay, a pretty strong voice against. Right response, Ben?
I'm just looking at it. Anyways, it does say that the regulation is, as I had said, it's council can waive the penalty for exceptional reasons by a majority vote. All that, even with that, I guess we could keep the notwithstanding clause all the same because it's probably cleaner that way. Basically, I don't see how there could possibly be a precedent set for this. I don't think people are going to go and look at previous years and ask, did they move the deadline for the mid-mandate report? And even if they did, honestly, we want the document to be quality, and we also want everybody that's working on these things to not be burnt out and things like that. And we would like to have an actual break as the executive. And I mean, we could produce something, but given that there's so much attention on us right now from all from the BDS stuff, to be really honest, the quality of our output at this point is going to be more important. Although, of course, it's always very important, but at this point, it's going to be even more important. And also, the fact that we're working on several very large projects right now, that's expenses number. Honestly, they're unprecedentedly large expenses that the union is undertaking right now. There are a lot of details that we need time to work out. And honestly, it's prudent of the board to allow us this extra time so that we can make sure that everything's done properly.
Heather?
Sorry, I just want to add further. I mean, I understand your reservations, but also we go back to session January 7th, and then the documents have to be in by January 10th for that meeting. So essentially, it sort of gives us 3 days if we're not working through the time frame. And also, we would like it to be we've talked at the executive level about producing a document that can both be shown to council and to the public that are interested in what's happening, and so that would maybe entail some graphic design work and some of that stuff also. So it's just really a really huge time constraint, but I understand your point.
Okay, well, if there's no further conversation, then we can proceed to a vote then. So those in favor of the vote for the motion, notwithstanding Regulation 381. Those opposed? And abstentions? Okay, that carries. No further discussion on the mid-mandate report. Then we can go to the informational new business, starting with the Loyola Hive bookings. Paul?
Sweet. This was James's point. He added it, but James is not here because he, forgot to send his regrets to his studying for a midterm final. So this is going to sound redundant, but a while ago I said that the Loyola booking process incurred a deposit of, I think it was $100 at a time, which I thought was kind of absurd, but apparently I was outnumbered in terms of my opinion. But now it seems like that fee has gone up to about $300. For the last, one of my associations tried to book the Hive and needed a booking fee of $300 that I think was going to be reimbursed. I'm not entirely sure if it's $300 for the deposit or if it's $200 plus the coordinator fee. Either way, the fee seems to be going up, and for associations that are very small, that require kind of like, there's several associations that need or want to book the Hive. A lot of their processes go through a larger association or another kind of financial barrier through which they need the money to actually be able to pay off this deposit. For some of which is very difficult. So, again, I was kind of told that this fee would stay, it would be looked at, whatever, but it seems like this fee seems, again, to me, very unnecessary. It's causing a lot of problems to a lot of associations. I'm not sorry, I take back the word a lot. It's causing problems to some associations. But yeah, it's this was James's point, so I think he was supposed to mention also, he was supposed to message Fiona, who's the coordinator now, and also get a bit of more background information on the financial end of it, which I'm sorry I don't have the information, but I'm sure James would have had it. But yeah, all that to say, I would really like it if this deposit went away, some other kind of means could be implemented, but whatever.
Okay, is there a motion there, or?
No, it's an informational one, so.
Right.
It's just, I don't know what to do, I don't know, I have associations up my back, I guess, telling me what is this fee, how can we get rid of it, and I'm like, I don't know, I can't try. I don't know what to do anymore, so.
Okay, well, speakers list starting then. Gabe?
It's refundable, so whatever deposit fee is definitely refundable. And I just want to, I don't know, so yeah, there's the refundable $200 fee, and then there's the supervisor fees, because there has to be someone there from the Hive to do it. So I think that's fine, right? The supervisor, it's mostly the deposit, the $200.
Yeah.
So I guess I wanted to maybe if you wanted to talk, we could I don't know, talk about this outside of council, but if we want to bring it up here, it's good. In terms of what sort of processes does let's just use ASFA as an example, and member associations, do you have with regards to a $200 deposit that makes it tricky? And then maybe we could work around that, and it might be something that we could do a special case if it's always ASFA, and you guys have the financial system of ASFA is centralized through one, right? So there could be something developed as a special partnership between ASFA and the Hive, and I think people are going to be down for that. But the reasoning for the deposit fee is I'm sure you understand if things get broken and stuff, then there's it's anyways the purpose of any deposit fee anywhere you go is in case things happen, at least you have something. But because it's a student association, you're not going to leave anywhere. It's not like ASFA's going to drop and go, and no one's going to know where ASFA went. So I think there's a potential for actually developing something that's a special circumstance. But yeah, I guess if you could clarify some of the financial issues that this causes, and is it because if it's a really big problem, then yeah, but if it's a little thing, then I don't know if it's worth it, but yeah.
Direct response?
The process as it is now at ASFA, and I don't know if it's similar anywhere else, but I'm assuming it's similar-ish, is that an association has a limited budget that they could use. And that budget is split up into either sections, so either an academic or social section, or events, or both. So what that leads is, at some point, somebody has to make out a payment to an association. or organization. So in this situation, the $200. Some people, and this is, I thought at first going to this association, people are like, oh, we have something called advance funding, where we basically pay up front. Now going to ASFA, I thought this would be something that wasn't common, and the more I spend time here, the more I realize a lot of people have no money to pay anything, especially if it's over $100, $150. So this $200 fee is kind of like somebody has to give $200 to somebody, whereas they don't have that money. So they're like, oh, hey, we need this money. What can we do? And there are processes within ASFA to get that money. However, none of them are really good. What I mean by that is that either you're going to transfer from one of your other events, so that needs to mean you have to transfer and retransfer, which could take a while. You have to either request for additional funding, which could take up to 2 weeks, 2 weeks being a maximum. That's what up to means. That could take up to 2 weeks, and it isn't for sure. So there are solutions within ASFA for these kinds of things, but a lot of the time the associations don't actually know what's happening, so they request this kind of like additional funding, and they have to substitute funding from another project, and it's kind of, for associations that don't actually ask us the question, also it could cause a big problem on their end. I mean, the recommendation I would have is to avoid all deposit fees for student associations, just because I feel like student associations are kind of like, we're not gonna, we're there, we're not gonna leave. So it's not like we're liable regardless. Like I feel like the liability end is like pretty there for us. And I feel like by signing a contract with deposits, like I'm sure somebody's gonna pay up for their whatever they break as opposed to deposit. Again, my sentiment on this, and I've suggested from the initially, and I didn't say anything initially, I just let it slide, but now things are getting like more, I've had like 2, I think, or 3 associations come to me and be like, but my idea is sign a contract, pay for breaks, as opposed to give a deposit and have to front money that you might not have, and then ask somebody else for money. Does that kind of answer the processes?
Yeah.
Sorry, I went on a tangent and stopped directly responding. I'm so sorry.
I've got Ben and then John.
Yeah, I was just going to say, maybe ASFA itself could sign a contract with the Hive saying that if there's ever any damages, blah, 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 or maybe something like this, so that it's just like ASFA on all of the member associations just automatically have this deposit for every event, and then say that deposit is not paid off upon the request of the Hive for reasonable circumstance, like reasonable grievances or whatever, then ASFA associations cannot use it until such time that it's paid off, or something like this. Because anyways, I know earlier in the year there was kind of an unfortunate damaging of property. That's honestly, I'd rather not talk about it publicly. I know why the Hive is hesitant to not have a fee, and it's based in like the fact that something happened to equipment that they entrusted to student groups, right? So there does need to be some kind of disincentive for kind of not really having the highest regard for the property that people are borrowing. But I think it would be easy for there to be a blanket contract between ASFA and the Hive instead of having every single member association every single time having to do paperwork, because that just makes it more tedious for everybody, really. So, but I feel like our exec could just facilitate something like that, because obviously we're working on the Hive still. So, yeah.
Okay, John.
It's kind of what I was going to say. But essentially, like if ASFA just signed a blanket contract, then if the member association did in fact like breach or damage property or whatever, then it could just fall on ASFA to like take that amount out of their budget. Like it wouldn't have to fall on ASFA, it would still fall on the MA, but through ASFA coming down on them. That would be like straightforward.
Your response?
That's not what I guess wasn't a question, but yeah, that's a good idea. The only thing is that solves ASFA's problem. So it doesn't really solve any other associations or organizations' problem. Another question is, if there are damages over the amount of $200, what happens?
I don't have the contract right in front of me. If I'm not mistaken, there is a part within the contract that talks about this, and I think it's the association that rents the space assumes all costs and damages associated to whatever happened during their event, and the deposit fee is just like assurance that at least we'll get $200. But if it's more than that, it still falls onto the association to pay up for that according to the contract. But I don't have the contract on me in front of me right now. But if I'm not mistaken, that's what it says.
Well, Gabe, I had you next on the list.
Yeah, I just was going to propose that I'll just like speak with with the Hive as well as you guys at ASFA to try and like figure something out. But like the vast majority of student groups that do rent out the Hive space are ASFA groups, whether it's ASFA or member associations. And I think that the select few times that it happens outside, I think it still works to have the deposit. But we can maybe, if there's like a certain faculty or association that constantly does it, we can have like special agreements with that. And I think that's like the general intention to begin with. Just because we just started, we wanted to like start everyone fresh under the same banner, same like process. But as it goes on, there's going to be like definitely some special agreements with certain groups because of the constant booking. It just makes it simple for us and for those groups. So yeah, I'll just like follow up on this and make sure they get solved.
And apologies again for not having all the information. James was supposed to be here, but.
Great, okay. So if there's no further discussion then, thank you all. We can move on to the next point, which is welcome new counselors. I think Ben, this is yours.
I just wanted to say welcome to the new counselors. That's really it. I felt like we put on the agenda just to say it. You're coming in. I sent you all an email. So you're coming into a year that's already in motion. We have work plans, and I sent them out to you today. Apologies for not sending it out sooner. Let's just say it's been an interesting few weeks. It's been an interesting few weeks. But it's great to have new people here. This is the first time in a long time that we've had this many counselors, I think. 29 out of 30, so we're missing just one. It's really good. Fine arts and independent students are fully represented. That doesn't seem to happen very much. So if you have any concerns or if you need help or anything like that, like if you don't know how Robert's rules work, just let me know. And also I think that a bunch of people are going to go to Masbar after this, and that could also be an extension of the welcome point if people want. Maybe that's not professional, but anyways.
Great. Great. Well, yeah, welcome aboard, folks.
Quick laugh.
Okay, great. Well, this brings us to question period and business arising. So for the new folks, question period is a chance for the public at large or counselors or executives to ask questions and maybe mention any new business that may be in the near future.
I have a question. Sorry, I'm not sure how to talk to this. Who's moderating the Facebook group?
I'm the new moderator.
Okay. I just saw. I don't think Fatty's on there.
Okay. Yeah. No, I have not added the
Okay.
counselors.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Marcus.
I just have a question for you, actually. CJLO, you're catching all the intense action of council here? Yeah.
That's CTV.
Same thing.
Shots fired.
Caught on camera. Blow your face out.
Was that
Oh no, it was just
A shout out.
yeah.
Okay, Lucy.
Sorry, just as a further point on the Facebook group in terms of just small cleanup, I'm looking at the description. It's outdated enough that you still have Terry is pending getting into the group, and you are in the group. And the description says we can't find anyone who's in here yet, and it still says Kyle pending JC ruling. So I'm guessing this is pretty old. Still has Nick as chair.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are the 3 outdated things I was able to pick up in like a 5-minute scan,
Okay.
5-second scan. So.
Well, I'm going to have to learn how to edit that particular part of the Facebook and get it up to speed. But thanks for that.
Should we mandate you to do that?
You can if you want, but you can take me at my word.
Speaking of which, just letting everybody know, my name on Facebook isn't Terry, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. In case people were ever trying to look for me, don't write Terry, you'll not find me.
You'll find me.
You'll find him. It's confusing enough for my other name.
What's your name?
It's Taigenz. Taigenz. Long story. Don't ask questions. For those, sorry. For those that know. Those that don't, it's because that's my artist name. So that's why.
I just tried. I can't access a group from the email, so I don't know.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
I can't access the Facebook group from the email I received, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. That's because I haven't gone through the new emails from
Okay.
the counselors, but that'll be corrected shortly. Are there any other questions or business arising? If not, then we can proceed to announcements. Anyone have anything to announce? Anything upcoming? Marcus, I see your smile. If there are no announcements, then we can move to adjournment. Marcus?
Move to adjourn.
Second. Is there a seconder? Okay, Lucy. Those in favor of adjournment, please raise your placards. Opposed?
Abstain.
Opposed? And abstentions? Very good. Meeting adjourned.